So, the second part of it is the people, and that's by far the most important decision making that I make in our organization. And so, as Jim Collins pointed out in the book Good to Great, my job is to make sure that we have the right people on the bus. And so,
Sure.
the number one priority for a leader is to make sure that you build a high performing team, period. So, I think it's the way that you facilitate interactions, the way that you build trust in an organization, the way you hire, the way you fire. Everything you do is monumental. And most importantly, having the decision making to get your team to rally around a plan and execute, right? And so the way that we've always looked at it is that, with our strategy, because home building is such a simple industry, it can be very easily duplicated.
Okay.
Right? And because we don't have patents or technology or R&D, that's even more of a reason that our people really need to shine bright and be highly talented, because that's really our X factor. Right? So I think also when it comes to decision making, I don't need to be involved in all the decisions. I think that really dilutes some of the highly talented people that we have in the organization. I think more times than not, it can even bog things down. But if it has something to do with strategy or people, I always want to make sure I'm involved.
Great. That's definitely some great insight.
Thanks.
I couldn't agree anymore, so that's good. What advice would you give someone going into a leadership role for the first time? Say they've never managed a team or led a team before. What would be some of the, some advice you'd give them to get on the right track and, to be successful as a leader?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Be a good listener. Be a good listener, right? And always, try to seek to understand before being understood. When I first jumped into my management position, it was probably the most difficult leap that I had ever had. And I remember I called my dad because I was so excited, and we were talking through some things, and he said, "Gosh, why do you want to be a manager?" I said, "Man, I want to go create change and make a difference and rule the world and go do all these things." And so, my dad always owned small businesses, and kind of the way that he broke it down to me is he said, the people on the front lines of any organization are really the ones that make the magic happen. They are essentially the ones who bring the revenue into the organization, right? And so if managers did not exist in an organization, then there would essentially be more revenue for the people on the front lines and more revenue for the corporate bottom line, right? And so what he helped me understand is that, those people essentially pay for managers to be there. Yeah. They're on the front line. So every day when you go to work, you need to think about that, and you need to ask yourself, am I providing that much value? But I think that from a management perspective, the easiest way to look at it is that your job is to build trust and hold them accountable, right? Their job is to do the right activity and get results. So I think when you're a new manager and you look at those things, building trust and hold them accountable, usually they lean too hard either one way or the other. And so what I mean by that is they're great at building trust, everybody likes them, but they have a really difficult time holding people accountable and getting results. Or conversely, they rule a little bit with an iron fist, and they might get immediate results, but they're not sustainable, and they don't have trust with their team. If they don't have trust with their team, they're not going to open up to them. If they don't open up to them, you can't help develop them, right? And so I think from the team side, their job is to do the right activity and get results. And so, a little story from our organization is that for a long time we were on a journey to try to get to 680 homes a year, okay? And all we talked about year after year was 680, 680, 680. Right. And every year we never got to 680, okay? So we completely changed the way that we approached it with the team and said, instead of focusing on the result, let's focus on the activity, right? Let's focus on the activity. Let's focus on what we are doing every single day, and let's put a lot of emphasis, focus, and pressure on ourselves to do the right activity each and every day, okay? And what's amazing is once we started doing that and stopped focusing just on the scoreboard, we got to where we needed to be. So, that was a big shift for us, because at the end of the day, the market can go up, the market can go down. You can't really control how good you are, but what's going to be sustainable is if you always are doing the right things, right? But I think that it's certainly a big change. Welcome the challenges, try to have some fun, right? And the transition, I think, from being a doer to being a manager to being a leader takes time. So be patient. Always try to be an eternal student. I think another important thing to remember is that, a big part of what you're trying to do is influence other people, right? You're trying to influence other people. So when you're trying to influence other people, the best way to influence others is to try to get them to have self-discovery. Because if they don't have self-discovery, it's not going to be sustainable change.
Right.
One of the greatest books that I read recently, called The Go-Giver, and basically the moral of the story is that your influence is directly proportional to how many people you serve, right? And not only serving people on your team, but serving your customers and serving people throughout the entire organization, and not always having that mentality, I got to give to get. Right. And so something that my mentor taught me when I got new into management is that, champions aren't born on the playing field, right? They're only recognized in the playing field. Champions are born through hours of preparation, practice, and doing the right activity, as well as a coach that believes in them more than they believe in themselves. So that would be my advice for a new manager.
That's great. Yeah, that's definitely a great answer to that.